Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you how to put a camera inside your model and create a photorealistic rendering of the space within your model. So in order to do that, let's first go to a floor plan here. So let's scroll down, let's go to the project browser in our lower left-hand corner of our screen, scroll up to floor plans, and basically when you put a camera in, you want to be working in a floor plan view. You want to be on the floor where you, the viewer, are standing. So let's imagine that we're on the 01 lower level floor and we're looking at the scene within. So let's double click on 01 lower level. Here's our floor plan that we've created. And let's just try this. Let's go up here to the top of your screen, go to the default 3D view, but go to the little drop-down menu beside the default 3D view. If you do that, we've got default 3D view, camera, and walkthrough. Select camera. And we did this earlier. We're going to do this again. We're gonna stand where we, the observer, are, and we're going to point our camera in the direction that we want to see. And I'm thinking in this view, it might be kind of interesting if we stood in this corner and clicked and looked in this direction. And remember, pull your middle line. This is the extent of how far you're seeing. Pull it well clear of your building. So I'm thinking this might be an interesting view. When I click this middle point here, the view is now created. We could see what we're seeing. So we got the stairs, we got some cool windows here. We got the little bit of the soffit ceiling here. You can now grab these little blue bulbs and pull them out to the sides and pull them up and down to enlarge your view. So I'm going to just wheel out a little bit. I'm going to pull this over to the side just to see if there's anything more that I want to get. I'm going to pull this one over as well. It looks like our view is kind of blocked by the wall there. You can see there's our wall is kind of blocking things. So I might just kind of take it in a little bit, something like that. And maybe even pull this up to see if there's anything more interesting to see. We get a little bit more of the windows. And we get some more of the floor here. And we might let's add in some people just to give it like a sense of scale. Let's also do this. Let's set our resolution for fine. We've got this view that we've created. If we scroll down in our project browser to 3D views, you can see we've got 3D view number 2 highlighted in black. Again, we can right click on it and rename it. So we'll call this maybe under the stairs and hit enter. I just give all my views some kind of interesting name that is easily identified. Under the stairs, I know exactly where this shot is. I'm going to change this, our visual style. Right now it's hidden line, that's the default. Let's just change this to shaded so we can see this kind of in color here. Okay, so now let's put a couple of people in here and let's put some furniture in here and just see if that helps liven up this view. So let's scroll back up here to our floor plan for 01 lower level. And let's kind of zoom in here. Let's put in some people. So we'll go up here to architecture and we're going to go to component. And this time we're going to hit load family over here. We're going to load up some people. The folder where you can find people is in entourage. It's called entourage. So if you scroll down and double click on entourage, here we've got some cars, a notebook computer, a picture frame, a truck, but we also have some people. Let's click on RPC female and hit open. And you can see over here now, we've got a drop-down menu. We've got a variety of different people. We've got Kathy, Cynthia, Florence, Lisa, Trina, and Yin Yin. These are all women who are standing. I think one of these is seated. I think maybe Cynthia, I can't remember which one. One of these women is seated, so just be aware if you pick the seated woman, make sure that she's actually sitting on a chair. You got to place a chair in there. I can't remember which one of these is seated, and if we click on one and pull it in, it just looks like an arrow. What we're seeing is this arrow represents the direction in which our woman is facing. So I'm going to place her here, and I'm going to move over and click on the modify button out of here. I'm going to stop placing people, and then I go back and I click on here, and what I want to do is just rotate it ever so slightly. No one is ever exactly 90 degrees to your point of view or parallel with your view. People are always just a little bit 3/4 of a view. So I'm just going to kind of rotate it ever so slightly so she doesn't quite look so artificial and robotic. And now I'm going to put in a man that she's talking to. I'm going to put a man in here. Usually these scenes look nice if people are paired up and they look like they're having a conversation. They're kind of facing each other. So I'm going to go over here to architecture again, component, load family, entourage. This time I'm going to do RPC male and hit OK. And now you can see from the drop down I've got a variety of males that I can choose from. Alex, Dwayne, Jay, and Laurent. So I'm going to pick, maybe I'll pick Alex and bring Alex in. And again, looks just like the same icon for the woman that we used. We can see the point. The point indicates what direction this person is facing in. So I'm going to place this person, go to modify. Now I can click on this person and rotate him around just ever so slightly. So they seem to be maybe like they're kind of facing in a common direction. I might rotate him just a little bit more. So they look like they could be having a natural conversation. Let's also put in a piece of furniture over here to kind of liven things up. So we'll go to architecture, component, load family. Let's see if there's a piece of furniture that we can put in. Furniture. Let's go to seating, and if you click on any one of these, you can hit the down arrow and kind of see little thumbnail images. Corbu chair. All these look kind of drab. I'm not crazy with any of the. Hey, Corbu sofa. This could be okay. Yeah, let's try Corbu sofa. And hit OK. Open. And now the sofa is attached to our cursor. So we might just put the sofa here, kind of against the wall, and maybe we might even put in, let's put in a table and chairs. So we'll go to component, load family, go back to furniture system, or maybe not furniture system, but just furniture in general. Go up one. Here's furniture, and I think we want to go to tables, and let's use our down arrows just to look at the thumbnails. Here we've got kind of a, I'm thinking we'll go with that round dining table, which is right here. Round with chairs. And if we hit open, we'll see it's now attached to my cursor. I could place the table with chairs right here. And I could take it and I'm going to rotate it 45 degrees. So I'm going to click, rotate around, and I just type in on my keyboard 45, enter. And it's kind of offset like that. While this table is selected, I could go to the drop-down menu and I could change the diameter and the number of chairs around it. Right now, it's 36 inches in diameter with 4 chairs. I could go to 60 inches in diameter with 6 chairs. I could even go to 84 inches in diameter, and I've got King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table here. Let's go back up. Let's make this 60 inches in diameter. Something like that might look nice. And one other thing that I find that really helps these when I do a rendering in a space is putting a couple of plants outside the windows. If you're looking out the windows and you see some plants, that always looks kind of nice. So let's go to component again, load family, and I think it's under P for plantings. Here we go, planting. And we'll just put maybe some trees out here. These look really kind of crummy in this outline view. When it renders, it looks realistic. So I'm going to put, here's RPC plant tropical. I'll just put this right here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm just going to place a bunch of these. Just kind of, it's nice to see some plants out the window. If I hit modify, I can click on that. Maybe there's a larger version of this. Yeah. So this is 1.5 feet tall. We got some other plants here that are taller. Maybe I could click on this one, hold down my control button and click all of these and turn these all into something a little bit larger. Rather than 1.5 feet tall, maybe there's something, maybe honey myrtle. Maybe that's kind of nice. Let's see how that looks. And maybe I'll put in, I'll click on modify. I'll go to component and see if there's a tree or something I can put in the other window here. Maybe we got a beech tree. Ooh, a Japanese maple. That could look nice. I'm going to click on that, and I might just put one right here just to kind of give us some eye candy to look at. Okay, I'm going to click on modify. Now I'm going to go back down to my 3D view under the stairs and just see how that looks. We've got some interesting stuff out the window here. I don't really see my Japanese maple. Maybe I'll just move that over a little bit. So I'll go back to one lower level. Maybe I'll take this and just copy it over. So I'll just click and just kind of place it. Oops, let's try that again. Let's click on this. Let's move it up. Oh, I think I've cropped my view. I think we're not seeing it in this view. So I'll just place it right over here. Yeah, I think my view is cropped, so I'm not seeing it in this plan view. But if I go back to my 3D view under the stairs, we should see, there's our Japanese maples right there. Let's zoom in a little bit. And let me take a look at one more thing. I'm going to go back to 01 lower level floor plan. And I'm thinking maybe we put in another window, but I think we're good. I think we're good. Let's go back to under the stairs, under 3D views. And let's go ahead and render this view. Let's imagine that we like how this looks. And let's go ahead and render. So what we want to do is along the bottom of our screen here, we have these other icons. This one right here, I don't know why, it's a teapot with a blue light bulb in front of it, and that is the rendering window. When you click on that, that brings up the settings for renderings, because nothing says rendering a 3D image like a teapot with a blue light bulb in front of it. So we're going to click on this, and here are our rendering settings. And we'll want to set a bunch of these, but we don't have to set every one of these. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just kind of scroll down to the first one we're going to concern ourselves with is quality. And it says setting and draft is here by default. If you go to the drop-down menu, you've got a few options here. Draft, low, medium, high, best, custom, and edit. In general, the lower your resolution, the closer to draft you get, the faster it will render, but also the less quality, the crummier it will look. I like to use draft if I'm just trying out things. If I just want to see very quickly how this thing's going to look, I'll set it for draft and just take a look, and then I can kind of fine tune it and move things. And when I'm ready, when I'm really happy with how things look, I'll actually render it at medium. Medium doesn't look very different from high resolution, but it takes less time to render. So medium tends to work. If I'm creating images for my web page or for a client, medium is fine, and it doesn't lock up your computer forever. So I'm going to set it for draft for right now. Resolution, we won't really mess with this, but you've got two options, screen and printer. Screen is just a resolution of about, I think it's 120 dpi. It's the resolution of a computer screen. If you're creating images that will go on a website, just set it for screen. If you're creating images that need to get printed up at a much higher resolution, maybe for a client, you might select printer and then select what DPI you want it to print at. But for right now, for what we're doing, screen is fine. Lighting, we've got a couple of settings here. The first one is scheme, exterior, sun only. Hit the drop-down menu, and we've got two different categories of lighting, exterior and interior. So this all depends on if you're taking an exterior shot of your building or if you're doing an interior shot. This is going to be an interior shot since we're inside. And then we've got three options. Light coming only from the sun, light coming from both the sun and any lights I've placed on the ceilings, or interior with just purely artificial light coming from the can lights in the ceilings. Let's set this for interior, sun, and artificial. I want my can lights to produce light, but I also want sunshine streaming in through the windows here. The next one is sun setting. Hit the button with the three dots on it. And what you want to do is you could, if you wanted to, tell the computer that this is located in Dallas, Texas, and it's this time of year and this time of day and this way is north, and you could get really involved. That's what all these options are. Or if you go with the default setting, which is just simply lighting, you've got two options here. Sunlight pouring in from the top right half of the illustration, or sunlight coming in from the top left. This just pertains to where your windows are. You can see that bank of windows in the background is kind of on the right side of my picture. So I want the sunlight streaming in from those windows. This may or may not be accurate, but I'm not really all that concerned with accuracy here. I want a really nice image. So I'm just going to say sunlight streaming in from top right. It'll ask you where the ground plane is, what level the ground is at, because it adds a ground. If it makes a best guess, 00 foundation, and there's a check mark here. That's close enough, so I'm going to say that's fine. All of this I'm just going to leave as is. The only thing I changed was sunlight coming in from the top right, and I hit OK. If we go to artificial lights, if I click this button, these are all the artificial lights that are in my model. And you can either turn them off or on. A check mark in the box means it's on. If you uncheck it, it means it's off. Right now, all the lights are turned on. I'm going to turn off all these fluorescent lights because I don't want Revit wasting time calculating the photons and luminaires coming out of these fluorescent lights that aren't even showing up in this view. We want Revit to be focused on the lights that will affect this particular view. So all these Troffler lights, I'm going to uncheck all these. This should speed up some of the process. We still have all of our can lights turned on, and I could go through here and turn off those can lights that aren't showing up in the view, but I just don't have time for that. So I'm going to leave the can lights on, but I am going to turn off all the fluorescent lights, and I'll hit OK. That should speed up the process. The next category down here is background style, sky, few clouds. If you go to the drop-down menu, you can control how many clouds are in the sky. Revit allows you to put in a realistic-looking sky in your background. No clouds, very few clouds, cloudy, and very cloudy. I will usually either go with very few clouds or no clouds. The more clouds you get in the sky, the more diffuse the lighting is and the less warm and pleasant it is. So I might even say just no clouds for this one. A couple other options here is color or image. If I click on color, I could just click on this resulting blue bar that shows up and choose any color. I might use this if I wanted to not show a sky in the background here, but maybe export this image as a JPEG and then Photoshop in a sky. I might make it all white. I might just choose all white for the color of my sky. Another option is if I go to my drop-down menu, image, and I could put in some kind of JPEG in the background here. If I really wanted to customize what the sky or the background looked like, I'm more likely to do it in Photoshop than to do it here. So I'm going to hit cancel. And just to make things nice and easy, I'm just going to go with a Revit sky with no clouds in it. There's enough interesting stuff to look at with the plants and everything that I don't need a really spectacular sky with a ton of clouds in it on top of that. So I'm going to say sky, no clouds. You can control the amount of haze in the background here. Clear, which means no haze, is the default. I'm going to leave it at that. This is enough information that we can go ahead and hit our render button. And this may take a minute or two to render. So we hit the render button, and the screen will go black, and it will piece by piece kind of fill in as it's rendering. So let's just see how long this takes. Okay, it's starting to render, and I'm gonna pause this and resume it when the rendering has complete. Okay, so it's finished rendering, and this was what we've got. It's looking really dark where I am and really bright on the outside. And you can see it's really pixelated. That's because we've set it for draft. If this happens, you don't have to totally re-render it again, but let's go down to Adjust Exposure. Let's click on this button, and we can kind of make it brighter or darker. This really helps. So let's bump this up to a little bit brighter and hit apply and see how that looks. You can see now the outside's just getting really kind of bright. So we might actually just have to try a whole new view. I'm thinking it's too drastic between where I am in this darkened area and the light out here. So I may simply have to replace my camera. So I'm going to go ahead and do that really quickly. Let's go ahead and let's see if there are other views. I think I put some other views in here. Maybe there's that stair view. Not liking any of these. This is outside. Let's go ahead and just see if we can find really quickly another view. So I'm going to go back to O1 lower level. I'm going to put in another camera. In Revit, you can put in as many cameras as you like. So I'm just going to put in a camera just like this and see how this is looking. That's kind of nice. So I'm going to stretch it out. That stair is just really in the way of things here. But this could be really nice with the big view to the outside. I think the people are going to look nice. I think now we're in a really well-lit area, so I think this is going to look really nice. And we can see, I don't think I had any lights placed here. So I want to get a really nice sense of this space. I'm going to kind of bump that up a little bit. I think this is a nice composition. I'm going to go here to Fine Resolution. I'm going to go here to Shaded for right now. One thing I want to do, let's rename this. Let's scroll down here at 3D View 2. I'm going to rename this as, I'll call this Stair 2. There we go, and hit OK. One thing I've noticed when I put in can lights and I do a rendering of a shot is the can lights will produce light. You'll see light that is shining on the surfaces adjacent to the light, on the walls and on the floors. But the can lights themselves will look dark, and I just figured out why that is. So what I want you to do is we can zoom in. I want to zoom in on one of these lights. I want to click on the light. You can, if I go back to hidden line view, you can see what I'm doing. I want to click on that light itself, and I'm going to change the property of this family. And this will make the light that's coming out of the light fixture visible in a nice way in a perspective rendering. So I've selected this light. This time I'm going to go up here to Edit Family. I'm going to actually change the prototype for this light fixture and apply it to all the can lights in my model in one swoop. We have now exited our house on the hill model, and we are looking at the prototype can light. So what I want to do, you can see light is coming out of here in this cone shape. We're actually going to change that. So if I click on this, on the beam of light coming out of the can light, you can see it's highlighted in blue. It says light source. I think if we go over here to edit, over in our properties menu, click on edit, you can see cone is already selected. The light comes out of here in a cone shape, and that won't show up. The light won't show up coming out of your light fixture in a rendering. If you select spherical, you will now see the light coming out of your can light fixture. They don't tell you this in the books. This is a little bit of advanced Revit for you guys. But if you click on spherical and hit OK, you can see the light pattern is no longer a cone being emitted from the light fixture, but is a sphere. At this point, once you've done that, hit load into project. It loads this revamped light fixture into your project. And it will say, you are trying to load the family downlight recessed can, which already exists in the project. What do you want to do? We want to overwrite the existing version. So click on that. Now, let's wheel back out again. Let's set this for shaded. Let's hit Control plus S. Now that we've changed our can lights, we want to implement that change. We don't want that change to go away. So save your work. And at this point, go to the little teapot, and we're going to do all the things we did previously. Let's set this, this time for low. Low is going to look better than draft. It won't look quite as pixelated. We're going to say exterior sun only. Let's change this to interior sun and artificial. Sun setting, this time we're going to say sunlight from top right. We'll hit OK. Artificial lights, let's see if we'll turn off all the Troffler lights here. So we'll just go down and uncheck all these. And hit OK. Sky, let's try very few clouds. Maybe we do want to see a few clouds in there, but we don't want it to affect the lighting too much. At this point, let's hit render and see how it looks. And again, once this starts rendering, I'll pause it. This is like one of those cooking shows where they put it in the oven, and then it automatically cuts to the finished product coming out of the oven. So I'm going to pause this. Okay, so now you can see it's rendering here. It's about 81% there. You can see it's looking a little bright, so we might just kind of darken it a little bit. But you can also see here are can lights. They're showing up. They look like they're actually producing light. That's the effect that we wanted. If we had not changed that light coming out of there to spherical, these would just look like black holes cut into the ceiling. So I'm much happier with this one, and I will probably tone this down, adjust the brightness down. It's just overly bright. I think it's a result of the fact that we've got this really light double volume space here, and then when you go back into the building, it gets dark pretty suddenly. We've got two lighting extremes going on. So this will be done in just another minute or so. Okay, at this point it's finished rendering. Let's go back to adjust exposure and just darken it a little bit. But I think that's, and hit apply. There we go. It's starting to look a little bit better here. This is 10. Let's try 11. Type in 11. Hit OK. Okay, so you can see how you can put cameras in and get pretty realistic scenes. There's our Japanese maple. Here are these hedges that we put in. We got the sky in there. So you can kind of play around with that. But you'll be really... this is a lot of fun. I like doing these renderings. This is the first software that I ever used that allowed me to very quickly put together photorealistic renderings of the spaces that I was designing. Again, if you set it for a higher resolution, the quality of the image will improve. At this point, we could do two things here. We could save this image into our project, or we could export it. If you wanted to save to your project, just click there, and we'll just call this Stair 02 rendering. Just give it a name and hit OK. This is saved in the project, and I'll show you where it is in a second here. Export is if you wanted to export this as a JPEG that you could put into another file or bring into Photoshop and manipulate or whatever, you could hit export, and you could save this to your desktop or wherever, save it as a JPEG, and hit save. I'm not going to do that now, but I just want to show you what happens if you click on this box here. If you get rid of the rendering window, it goes back to just the shaded image that we started off with. But it's not lost. If you saved it to your project, we can scroll down here, and there's a category here, renderings. It's right here. It's right underneath sections. If you click on renderings, there's Stair 02 rendering. If you double click on it, it's right there. And I think if you right click on it, you can, oh, I was thinking you could save this. I'm not seeing an option to save this. So if you do have an image that you want to export, I would recommend exporting it first. Save it as a JPEG, and then save it to your project as well. There's probably a way to do that. I'm just not seeing it right here. Maybe if I go to here, maybe there's an option here, duplicate view. Save to project as image, copy to clipboard. Here you go. If you right click on it here under renderings, you could copy it to the clipboard and then open Photoshop or something and paste it in into a new file in Photoshop. Anyway, let's hit Control S. Let's save our work, and that's it for creating a photorealistic interior rendering of our project.